Welcome on into another episode of the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We have a season review for 2025 coming your way today, and it's the Hawthorn Hawks 2025 season review. As each team gets eliminated from the season this year, we have done a season review for that team. So we're almost done. There's 4 to go. This is the 4th last one. Collingwood will be coming out later this week as the other preliminary final loser. And then we've just got the 2 grand finalists coming up next week's episodes. So that will be Geelong and Brisbane. The loser of that game will be first. The winner we'll do later in the week, next week. So stick around for those. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that noti bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Go check out the social medias. All Aussie Rules everywhere. Let's jump into this. Hawthorn's 2025. It finished on the weekend with a loss in the preliminary final. We're going to go through some of the stats, some of the numbers, a look back at their season, all their players, everything you really need to know about their season 2025. Let's jump into it. First up, we have a little summary for you. That is what their season looked like. 23 games in the home and away season. They went 15-8 with a decent enough percentage. Finished 8th on the ladder. Unfortunate to be 8th on the ladder with 15 wins. Only 1 win out of the top 4. Like, a lot of things could have been different for them, but it didn't end up hurting them too much because they still had a prelim final at the MCG. So they still had plenty of opportunity to progress. End of season, they finished 4th. That's post-finals. They played 3 finals matches. Won 2, lost 1. Slightly over 100% in that. Points for 6th highest scoring team in the competition this season with almost 90 points per game, and 5th best defensively in terms of scoring, 75 points per game. So a good season from them. They used just 35 players, which is the equal 14th most in the competition. So they didn't use a lot of players. Overall, they had a reasonable run with injuries. There was a couple players that missed extended periods, but overall it wasn't too bad for them. 0 debutants, the only team in the competition that did not have a debutant this year. I think it's like over a year and a half since their last debutant, which is crazy. Average age, 25.91, which is the 8th oldest team in the competition, so sitting around mid-pack for age profile. Average experience in games this year was 109.42, which is the 6th most experienced team in the competition. Their record against the top 9, including finals games, is 6-8, so not the best record of all time there. And their record against the bottom 9 for the year was 11 wins, 1 loss. That 1 loss was their first loss of the season, which was Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. Moving on to game by game, they started their season perfectly. Opening round, Sydney Swans up at the SCG, 20-point win. Great start to their year. It was a close game, could have gone either way halfway through the last quarter, but Hawthorn ran the game out better and got the win. They followed it up with a 26-point win over Essendon in round 1, 20-point win over Carlton in round 2, and then going into their first bye, they beat GWS down at a windy UTAS Stadium in Tasmania by 12 points. They then had their bye sitting at 4-0 and things were looking great. They came out of the bye and things turned pretty quickly. They lost to Port Adelaide by 30 points after being down by about 80 points in the third quarter. So they did come back quite well late in that game, but the damage was done. Followed it up with a 7-point loss to Geelong at the MCG on the traditional Easter Monday game. Turned their form back around with some comfortable wins, beating West Coast by 50, Richmond by 65, and Melbourne by 35. So 3 lower-ranked teams for the season, but they did the job. And then followed it up with 3 losses. Gold Coast up at Darwin by 8 points, Brisbane by 33 points at the MCG, and then Collingwood by 51 points. And all of a sudden, thoughts were that maybe Hawthorn were just a touch off the rest of the competition, or at least most of the top 8 at this point, because they're 7-5. They're not doing terrible, but across that, 8-week period, they'd won 3 games against 3 bottom teams and got comfortably beaten by multiple top teams. So things weren't going spectacular at that point, but they turned it around pretty quickly. Beating the Bulldogs by 22 at Marvel is a massive win. Beat Adelaide down at Utah Stadium by 3 points. Had the bye, came back to Utah Stadium again and beat North Melbourne by 85 points. Absolutely smacked them. Beat St Kilda by 20 before heading over to Perth and losing to Fremantle by 13 points. Beat Port Adelaide, got some revenge for the earlier matchup by 38 points. Beat Carlton by 24 points for the second win over them this year. Adelaide got some revenge on the Hawks, beating them by 14 at Adelaide Oval in round 21. Before they beat Collingwood by 64, that was a really big win. Melbourne by 36 in round 23. And then they had a chance for top 4 if they could beat Brisbane in round 24, but they were unable to do that. They lost by 10 points to the Lions at the Gabba to finish 8th on the ladder and set up an elimination final, which they managed to win against GWS after leading comfortably most of the way. The Giants did snatch the lead for just a moment before Hawthorn kicked away late to win by 19. They then went back to Adelaide Oval and played a ripper game, won by 34 points over the Crows, before putting up a solid enough fight against Geelong in the preliminary final. But in the end, the class of Geelong prevailed and eliminated the Hawks from season 2025. Not a bad season. Like, you're getting plenty of wins there. There's a few losses that maybe they would like back. Overall, though, I think they showed through the final series that they're good enough to be a top 4 team. They got through to a prelim final, and they just need to find a way to take that next step, I guess, to get to the grand final. They've progressed. Last year, they finished in a semi-final. The years before that was missing finals by a fair bit. So they're on their way up if they can keep progressing, you don't necessarily need to make your list better, but you just need to, I'm not going to say play better, but be prepared and execute and that sort of stuff, I think means a lot more than just bringing in an inside mid. I could be wrong, but teams win with not great players sometimes. So my theory is their list is probably doesn't have stars, but it's really good across the board. And I think it's good enough to compete with anyone. And I think the main issue is just execution and planning and all of that sort of stuff, as well as mainly the vibe of the team and stuff, like getting around each other helps a lot. Hawthorn do that well, but just random things that can just influence close games and maybe take you 1% better, which might be enough. Looking at some of the key stats, we're not going to go through all of this. There's a lot of information here, but just go through some of it, some of the important stuff. They are overall quite a high disposal team compared to their opposition, and overall 4th highest disposals in the competition, 3rd most in terms of difference. Pretty low disposal efficiency overall, but the gap to their opposition is quite high, so that suggests that it's a bit more of a high pressure game than maybe some other teams play. Inside 50 count is okay without being spectacular, plus 1.47, which is 10th most in the competition. Pretty good contested football numbers, pretty decent uncontested numbers, both in terms of getting them, but also in comparison to their opposition. Intercepts, 2nd highest intercepting team in the competition, but they also give up a lot of intercepts, 16th most. So that's not right. 3rd most, 16th least. So the difference is plus 2.58, but they do give up quite a few intercepts. We'll get into scoring from those shortly, though. That's where the main thing is a really good positive for them. Clearances, they're not a clearance team. They haven't been this year. They weren't really last year either. Sending clearances, 13th in the comp, 15th in difference. Stoppage clearances, 10th and 16th in difference. So they get smacked at a clearance. It doesn't hurt them because they do play that high turnover game. They force a lot of intercepts, and they manage the game outside of being good in the clearance game. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like, obviously, Geelong smacked them in that prelim final with clearance scoring, especially in the 3rd quarter. So maybe it's a factor. Maybe it's something they need to look at. They don't need to be perfect at it, but they maybe just need to have a way to break even if they need to in that area. Other than that, accuracy-wise, pretty good. 7th best in the competition. They go over 5% better than their opposition in accuracy. So that certainly helps. Shots per inside 50, they go around 50%, which is 6th best in the competition. Reasonably high tackle team. Moving down to the score sources, down near the bottom there. Scoring across the board's pretty decent. Kick-in, stoppage, turnovers. That's 4. Whereas points against, they're really good at the turnover. As we said, they are a high turnover game. High intercepts, high turnovers, both ways. But the difference is they score really well from their intercepts, whereas they don't let the opposition score that much from their intercepts. So there's an 11 or just over 10-point difference there. 6th best in the competition is a really solid number, especially when you compare it to the difference in intercepts, which is only 2.58. So you're getting an extra 5 points per one of those extra turnovers. Score origin, defensive half, really solid numbers. 4th best in the competition. Forward half, 7th best, and centre bounce, they're 4th best. Really good defensively, especially. They don't concede that much from the centre bounce. Seeing they go at just worse than minus 0.6 in centre clearances per game. They still score an extra 4 points per game from centre bounce than their opposition. So that's a really handy number for a team that loses that. And in regards to that, they also go at plus 3 points per game, even though they go minus 2 clearances per game. So their scoring from stoppage and centre bounce actually isn't too bad considering the numbers, which makes you think if they could start winning a few more clearances, would that skyrocket the numbers and make them even better? Who knows? Debatable. You can never prove that without actually trying it. But we'll see what happens going into next year. It will certainly be an interesting off-season for the Hawks in 2025. Moving into the player update, first of all, we've got players that missed 5 or more games in season 2025. Some of these will be form-related, some maybe just aren't in their best 22. This is not every player. It's players that I consider being close to in their best 22. Jai Sarong missed all 26. He's a key defender. He's probably not really that needed in this team at the moment. They have plenty of key defence already on the park, bringing in obviously Josh Battle and Tom Barras in the off-season. Sam Frost, similar story. 24 matches missed this year. He's not really that needed these days. Henry Husthwaite missed 22. Bailey McDonald missed 20. Will Day, he was the big one to miss a lot of football. He missed 20 games, including their finals campaign. Getting him back next year will be huge. He was their highest rated midfielder, but he did only play 6 games this season. Mitch Lewis, and Luke Bruce both missed 18. Luke Bruce, obviously, he's retired now. That's his career ended in a sad way for him, obviously doing his knee, but Mitch Lewis, he came in and played a role. He's certainly a good player. Cash Shadia missed 16. They started to play 4 key forwards there towards the end of the year before dropping back to 3 for finals. Cam McKenzie, he missed 15. Finn McGuinness missed 13. Jack Scrimshaw missed 10. Josh Weddle, another key player, he missed 8. Giaff missed 6. Harry Morrison 6. And James Warple missed 5. Interesting to see what he does in the off-season. Players missing off their list from season 2024. Outside of ones that got delisted, we only look at ones that either retired or went to another club in these videos, but Chad Wingard was the only one. He didn't play last year. Anyway, moving into position by position, we do a rating for every single player in the competition, every single game, and then this gives us our All Aussie Rules rating for the year. And we rank them by position, of course, as well. General defenders, they have a few here, and most of them played a lot of games, which suggests they weren't all just general defenders. Sometimes they're playing more key defence. Jack Scrimshaw sometimes is key defender. Last year he was a key defender. This year he rotates through positions. Weddle, similar sort of story. He plays wing, he plays half back, he plays wherever they really need him. He's a bit of a unicorn. Carl Lamont was their highest rated general defender this year, though. 25 matches, his rating went up from last year and ended up 12th best general defender in the competition. He really took his game to a slightly better level this year. Had a really good year. Josh Weddle, as I said, he's a bit of a unicorn. He plays a variety of roles. He played a lot of wing this year, especially late. Had a good year. His rating slightly up on last year. Jarman Impey had some really good moments, had some okay moments. Overall, his rating's basically the same as last year. That's about where he's at the moment. Blake Hardwick, his rating, once again, similar as last year. He's more of a defensive role than certainly Carl Lamont and Jarman Impey. And Weddle too, as well. More that lockdown defender. So sometimes his scoring's not going to be as good as those players. But overall, his rating throughout the season was still really, really good. Jack Scrimshaw played 16 games. His rating went down a bit on last year. Yeah, I think he's still a very good player. I was very big on him last year. I was a little bit surprised when they brought in 2 key defenders because it was going to take away from Scrimshaw probably playing, but he's still got games. He still played 16. I'd be interested to see how he'd go at a different club because I think he would go pretty well. I think he's a good key defender. Giaff, he's rating slightly up on last year where he was an outside mid. He's a weird sort of player in that his best is very, very good. He's been used as a sub plenty this year. It is what it is, but I think he shows signs of being good enough. We just haven't seen that in big doses just yet. Bailey McDonald played 6 games, didn't play enough game time to even get a rating, let alone a ranking. And Seamus Mitchell played 4 games unranked. His rating was okay without being anything to write home about. Key defenders, James Sicily, once again, he plays a variety of roles between general defender and key defender down back. And then he also swings forward when they need a goal, whether it's late in a quarter and they want a goal before the break, or it's late in a game and they're a few goals down, they swing him forward. And he has some decent success, certainly early in the season, maybe not so much late, but played 23 games, so only missed a couple, 3 in fact. Ends up exact same ranking as last year, rating slightly down across the board for key defenders, I think, this season. But he was good again. I mean, he had a couple games early season where people were questioning his ability, but he found his form, and I think he had a really good season. Josh Battle, his rating slightly down from last year, but still was the 10th best key defender in the competition. He had a really good year. And Tom Barras, his rating fairly well down on last year where he was at the West Coast Eagles. I don't know if there's a reason for that. He still had a really good year. He was a vital part of this Hawthorn Hawks defence that was in the top 5 or 6 teams in the competition in terms of scoring against. Moving on to the forward line. General forwards first, and for the second year in a row, Dylan Moore is their highest rated general forward. He was number 1 in the competition last year. His rating slightly down this year. I think that was probably noticeable in terms of, I don't think watching him, you felt like he was as good this year. He certainly had some really good games. I felt like last year, especially early season to mid-season, he was outstanding and he was their best and most important player on their list. That's probably dropped back a bit. I think he's not as important in terms of, he's still a very good player, very important player, but I don't think that they rely on him as much now due to the fact that they've got plenty of other options in that forward line, but also as a rotating mid as well. When he goes in there, there's probably not as much pressure on him as there was 18 months ago, early last season, when they were really struggling. But still a very, very good year. 4th best general defender in the competition this year. Jack Ginnivan is an interesting one because he started this season quite slowly, but really got cranking ends up rating almost over 5 rating points better than last year, from 26th best general forward up to 14th. It would be even higher than that if he had have started the season well. Up until he got dropped for a week mid-season, his rating wasn't that great, but his back half of the year was fantastic. He had a lot of touches. Outside, and he wasn't great in the semi-final over in Adelaide, but the other two finals he was really good. Connor McDonald played 24 matches, so only missed a couple. His rating slightly down on last year, but a solid year from him again. He's once again probably not needed as much as he was last year in terms of there's plenty of options in that forward line. Nick Watson, his rating's basically identical to last year. His highs are really, really good. He has some really quiet games. Opening round, I think, was one of those. The prelim final was another. He had 5 touches, did kick a goal, but he was just really struggling to find any football. And that happens sometimes for him. And that's just something that he's going to have to work on, I think, over the off-season and into next season, is potentially in those games that are quiet, still finding a way to have a positive influence on the match. Whether that's pressure, whether that's tackling, whether that's whatever it is, I don't know. But maybe just try and influence the games in a bit of a more positive way in those games where you're really struggling to have that normal amount of output. Finn McGuinness, he played 13 games, his rating well down on last year. Luke Bruce, only the 8 games, was either stub or subbed out most of them. Overall, his rating went down, but that's to be expected. He didn't get a whole lot of game time this year. And that is where his career ends. Moving to the key forwards, and this is one of the resurgence stories of all time. Jack Gunston played 23 matches, and what a season did he have. Ends up the 5th highest rated forward in the competition. Including finals, he ends up the 2nd most amount of goals from any forward or anybody in the competition, behind Jeremy Cameron. Kicked over 70 in the end, I think. Maybe it was exactly 70, somewhere around about the 70. His rating went from a 36 last year to a 52. And to think the year before, 2024, he was at the Brisbane Lions and barely could get a game. At 33 or 34, whatever age he is, to just turn his career back around to not just somewhere near the level that it used to be, above the level that he used to be. I think he's playing as good football as he ever was, but I think he's also a lot smarter than he ever was in terms of you're always learning. You're always learning, and I think he's just learnt his game really well, and he plays it perfectly in this Hawthorn forward line. He leads really well. I think he kicked the most amount of goals in the competition from the lead this year. He knows what he's doing, and he does it really well. Marbale Chol, he had a really good season as well. His rating went up, career best year from him as well. 13th highest key forward, rated key forward in the competition. He had a really good year. There's no two ways about it. He was very, very good. Mitch Lewis played the 8 games, ends up their 3rd highest key forward, highest rated that is. They have a lot of key forwards. He only played the 8 games, but he was really good, I think, in those games. I think he's showing a lot of potential to be really good. And the issue is, Kal Shadir is another one that's also showing plenty of potential. His rating's slightly down on last year, but he's shown plenty of potential. You're probably looking at Chol, Lewis and Deer long-term as their forwards, if they can hold on to all 3 of them. Because you'd think Gunston maybe has a couple years left in him and maybe not much more, but the way he played this year, who knows, maybe he's got another 5 in him. But yeah, their key forward line, it's an interesting one. And no doubt about it, it had quite a lot of success this year. Moving into their midfielders, starting at their top, their highest rated was Will Day. He only played the 6 games. Opening round was sensational. Overall, his rating went up on last year, ends up 22nd highest rated inside mid in the competition. He's shown a lot of good signs. They certainly missed him in the finals campaign, I think. getting him for a full fit season would be absolutely huge for this Hawthorn Hawks team, and it would be very interesting to see how much of a difference it would make to this midfield. John Newcomb, he played every game. He was outstanding, especially in the first two finals this year. He was sensational. His rating slightly down on last year, but overall, his numbers slightly down, but overall, he kind of was very close to where he was last year. Josh Ward, he took a step forward for sure. Played 25 games, put up some really healthy numbers. James Warple, he went down a fair bit. From 51st best last year to 71st. I think he's someone that's shown potential to be a good inside mid, but I just don't think he shows enough of it to say that he's a starting inside mid, like one of your main three inside mids. He's probably your fourth in an ideal world. Connor Nash, he's your more defensive of those inside mid roles that Hawthorn have, and he does it well. He's very important to this team. He adds his height in there too, and he does play really well and has been important for them the last two seasons, even if his rating isn't that high. Cam McKenzie, his rating's gone up a bit on last year from 90th best to 78th. He had an okay year. Henry Huswaite, his rating was solid. We've seen enough from him to suggest that he will be someone for the future that will get plenty of games, so we'll watch him with interest. Sam Butler played 6 games. His rating's not that high, but we'll see what that holds for the future. Outside mids, they had 2 decent ones last year, Harry Morrison and Massimo D'Ambrosio. And to be honest, they were okay again this year. Both of them dropped in terms of rating and rank. Massimo, the bigger drop. He went from number 1 down to number 21. I just don't think he was as effective this year as an outside mid. There was a lot of games where he didn't have much influence, whereas last year he was pretty much influencing big time in most games. He also was probably in their top 3 players 4 or 5 times last year, whereas I don't know if he was this year, even 1 or 2 times really. Harry Morrison, he went from 13th last year to 20th this year, so not much of a drop. Still showed some really good signs out there. Obviously, they do rotate through Weddle through the wing at times too, so some of these players also move away from the wing, but overall, their wing stocks are pretty good. Those 2 players on the wing or Weddle is still a very handy lineup. Moving into the rucks, Lloyd Meek had a fantastic season again, 9th highest rated. Basically same rating as last year. I think that's where he's at. I don't think you'll see much of an improvement ever from Lloyd Meek, but you know what you're going to get from him. He's round about that top 10 mark as a ruckman in the competition. He's got the attributes. He does a really good job, and I would expect to see that to continue. Ned Reeves played just the 1 game. Did okay without doing anything too special. Little position summary now. So if you're new around here, once we've got the ratings and positions, we put them into classes. So the top 10% of each position are elite. 10 to 25% are top class. 25 to 40 is above average. 40 to 60 is average. 60 to 100% is below average. And then if you haven't played at least 5 games of 50% game time or more, you would be in the unranked category. So they have some elite players. They have 3, according to that system. A key defender and a general forward, as well as a key forward this season. 5 top-class players, 7 above average. So that's pretty healthy spread of 15 players that are in the top 40% of their position in the competition. So that's really good numbers. That's a fair chunk of your starting 22 right there. And it's also a good spread across positions because they have 2 general defenders, they have 2 key defenders, they have 4 general forwards, they have 3 key forwards, 2 inside mids, an outside mid, and a ruck, all in above average category. That's as good of a spread of any team in the competition this year that we've gone through. They have good numbers. You chuck in the fact that they have 5 in the average category as well, and you're looking at 20 out of their starting 22 are in the top 60% of their position this season. So numbers suggest that they do have a really healthy looking list across the board that they have plenty of options with. As far as teams that we've done up to this point, so we haven't done Collingwood, Brisbane, or Geelong yet. Those three will be coming out over the next week or two. But this is as good, as perfect a spread as we've had from the first 15, 16 teams. So really good positive signs. They're also not that old. They've got some plenty of good youth in this team. So some really good positives for Hawthorn there. The last thing to look at is our best and fairest for the season. This is not the official Hawthorn best and fairest. This is the All Aussie Rules one, which, whether you like it or not, is the way we do it here. Basically, top 5 players for every team get votes each week. The winning team, top 5, get 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. And then the losing team get half of that, so 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 for their top 5 players. So Lloyd Meek ends up their highest in the votes this year. He had a great season. I think that's fair. 91 votes for him. Joe Newcomb, 71 in second place. Carl Lamont, 48, sits in third. Dylan Moore, 43 in fourth. Gunston, what a season he had. Arguably, he might actually get their best and fairest, in all honesty. It might go between him or Lloyd Meek, I think, would be a really fair option. Joe Newcomb, maybe. But yeah, Jack Gunston 5th, Sicily 6th, Josh Ward in 7th with Impey equal on 32, then Josh Battle in 9th, Ginnivan in 10, Mabal Chal in 11, James Walpole in 12, Blake Hardwick in 13 with Will Day, and then Josh Weddle brings up 15th spot with 20 votes. That's pretty much everything we've got for you today. Don't forget to jump in the comments before you leave. Let me know what you thought of Hawthorn season this year. Where you expect to see them finish next year. Will they get some key off-season signings? We'll have to wait and find out. But it's going to be fascinating nonetheless. I don't think we've got much else to say. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your way out. Hit that noti bell so you don't miss any videos. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Go check out all the social medias. We do 2 podcast episodes every single week. They go live on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So go check them out as well. I'm Jay. This is the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. This was the 2025 season review for the Hawthorn Hawks. And I'll catch yous on the next one.